Have you ever wondered why two traders can look at the exact same chart at the exact same time with the exact same information, and one walks away building wealth while the other walks away questioning whether they're even cut out for trading? It doesn't make sense at first. They use similar indicators, they watch the same market, they follow the same news. Sometimes they even take the exact same trade. Yet one trader keeps growing while the other keeps repeating the same painful cycle over and over again. Why? Is it intelligence? No. Is it luck? Not even close. Is it some secret strategy hidden behind expensive courses and private communities? No. The answer is much quieter than that. It's almost invisible. It's a silent mental shift that most people never notice because they're too busy searching for the next indicator, the next setup, or the next shortcut. And that silent shift changes everything. Let me tell you something. The market is not just testing your strategy. It is testing your patience. It is testing your discipline. It is testing your identity. Every losing trade asks the same question. Who are you when things don't go your way? Every winning trade asks another dangerous question. Can you stay humble when your ego wants control? Most traders never realize they're being tested. They think they're fighting the market. They think the market is unfair. They think the market is manipulating them personally. But the market isn't thinking about you at all. It simply reflects what's already inside your mind. It reflects your fear. It reflects your greed. It reflects your impatience. It reflects your need to be right. And that's why so many traders spend years changing strategies without ever changing themselves. They blame the system. They blame the broker. They blame the economy. They blame the news. They blame everything except the one thing that follows them into every single trade, their own mindset. Here's the uncomfortable truth. An amateur trader believes success comes from finding certainty. A professional trader understands success comes from accepting uncertainty. Read that again in your mind. One is chasing control, the other is mastering themselves. That is the silent shift. It doesn't make headlines. It doesn't look exciting on social media. Nobody posts screenshots of the trades they didn't take because they were disciplined enough to wait. Nobody celebrates the emotional battles won inside the mind. But those invisible victories are exactly what create visible profits over time. The biggest difference between amateurs and professionals isn't found on the chart. It's found in the conversation happening inside their heads before they ever click the buy or sell button. One voice says, I have to make this trade work. The other says, I only need to follow my process. One voice says, I can't afford another loss. The other says, losses are simply part of the business. One voice is driven by emotion. The other is guided by discipline. This is not about the market. This is about you. Because every trade you take reveals the habits you built long before the market opened. Every impulsive click, every revenge trade, every moment of hesitation tells a story about your psychology, not your strategy. And until that story changes, your results won't either. In this video, you're going to discover the 5 silent mental shifts that separate amateur traders from true professionals. You'll learn why patience creates more profit than constant action. Why letting go of your ego is one of the most profitable decisions you'll ever make. How professionals control emotions instead of being controlled by them. Why consistency always beats excitement. And finally, the identity shift that transforms trading from a desperate search for money into a disciplined profession. By the end of this video, you won't just look at the market differently, you'll look at yourself differently. And once that happens, you'll never approach another trade the same way again. Shift 1. Stop chasing the market. Start waiting for it. Imagine a hunter running wildly through the forest, firing arrows in every direction because he is terrified that the next opportunity might disappear. He is exhausted. He is emotional. He wastes energy chasing everything that moves. Now imagine another hunter sitting quietly, completely still, observing every sound, every movement, every change in the wind. He waits. Minutes pass. Hours pass. Then when the perfect moment arrives, he takes one shot, and he never misses. Which one survives longer? Which one brings home the reward? Trading works exactly the same way. The amateur believes success comes from taking more trades. The professional knows success comes from taking better trades. That single realization changes everything. Most traders wake up every morning already convinced they need to trade. Before the market even opens, their mind is searching for reasons to enter. Every candle looks like an opportunity. Every breakout feels like the beginning of a massive move. Every small pullback looks like the perfect entry. They are not reading the market, they are forcing the market to tell them what they want to hear. Understand this. When you desperately want to find a trade, your brain stops seeing reality. It starts seeing excuses. It starts ignoring risk. It starts creating stories that justify emotional decisions. Maybe this setup will work. I don't want to miss this move. If I wait, it'll be too late. Those thoughts sound harmless, but they are incredibly expensive because every unnecessary trade slowly drains something much more valuable than money. It drains confidence, it drains discipline, it drains trust in yourself. Let me tell you something. The market does not pay people for being active. The market pays people for being patient. Read that again. The market rewards patience, not excitement, not speed, not constant action. Patience, yet patience feels painful to the amateur trader because doing nothing feels like losing. Sitting on your hands feels unproductive. Watching the market move without you feels unbearable. You start thinking everyone else is making money except me. That thought becomes pressure. Pressure becomes impulsive action. Impulsive action becomes another losing trade, and then the cycle repeats itself. But professionals experience waiting completely differently. They don't see waiting as wasted time. They see waiting as part of the trade. Waiting is not the absence of action. Waiting is disciplined action. Every trade they refuse to take protects their capital. Every temptation they ignore strengthens their mindset. Every moment they stay patient builds confidence that cannot be bought with money. Think about the greatest sniper in the world. He doesn't fire because he has ammunition. He fires because the conditions are perfect. A professional trader thinks exactly the same way. Capital is ammunition. If you waste it on average opportunities, it won't be available when extraordinary opportunities arrive. This is where amateurs lose the game without realizing it. They become mentally exhausted before the best setup even appears. They've already taken 3 emotional trades. They've already doubted themselves. They've already damaged their confidence. So when the high-quality opportunity finally shows up, they're either afraid to pull the trigger or they no longer have enough capital to take full advantage of it. The opportunity wasn't the problem. Their impatience was. This is why professionals often look boring. They can spend hours doing absolutely nothing. They don't need excitement. They don't need constant stimulation. They don't measure success by the number of trades they take. They measure success by the quality of their decisions. Some of their most profitable days are the days when they make only one trade. Sometimes their smartest decision is making no trade at all. And that confuses amateurs because society teaches us that more effort should create more results. But trading is different. In trading, more activity often creates more mistakes, more emotions, more commissions, more losses. The irony is almost unbelievable. The harder you chase the market, the faster profits run away from you. The calmer you become, the more opportunities seem to appear naturally. Why? Because your mind finally becomes clear enough to recognize real probability instead of emotional hope. Let me ask you a difficult question. How many of your losing trades happened because your strategy failed, and how many happened because you simply couldn't wait? Be honest with yourself. Most traders don't lose because they lack knowledge. They lose because they lack patience. They know the rules, but they break them. They know their setup, but they force entries that don't exist. They know they should wait, but their emotions convince them that this time is different. And every time they believe that lie, the market teaches the same lesson again. Understand this. The market is not running away from you. There will always be another setup. There will always be another opportunity. But there may not always be another account if you keep chasing every move you see. This is the silent mental shift that begins separating professionals from amateurs. Professionals stop asking, how can I get into this trade? They start asking, what reason do I have to stay out of this trade? That one question changes their entire perspective. They no longer feel the need to participate in every move. They only participate when the odds clearly favor them. They no longer chase the market. They let the market come to them. And the moment you stop chasing, something incredible happens. You stop trading from fear. You stop trading from greed. You stop trading from desperation. You begin trading from clarity. But patience alone is not enough, because even after you learn to wait, another invisible enemy quietly waits inside every trader, the desperate need to always be right. Shift 2. From needing to be right to managing risk. Now that you've learned the power of waiting, another challenge quietly steps into the spotlight. It is far more dangerous than impatience because it hides behind something that feels completely reasonable. It is the need to be right. Think about it. From the time you were a child, you were rewarded for having the correct answers. In school, being right earned good grades. At work, being right often earned respect. So naturally, when you enter the financial markets, you bring that same mindset with you. You believe every trade is a test of your intelligence. Every losing trade feels like a personal failure. Every stop loss feels like an insult to your identity. And without realizing it, you stop trading to make money. You start trading to prove yourself. That is where everything begins to fall apart. Let me tell you something that most amateur traders never hear. The market does not reward people for being right. It rewards people for managing risk. Those are two completely different games. The amateur wants to predict the future. The professional wants to survive whatever future arrives. One fights uncertainty, the other accepts it. One protects the ego, the other protects capital, and over hundreds of trades, that silent difference becomes millions of dollars. Watch what happens inside the mind of an amateur trader after entering a position. The market moves slightly against them. Instead of calmly accepting that this trade might not work, they begin arguing with reality. It'll come back. The market is just shaking people out. I know I'm right. The stop loss gets moved farther away because admitting the trade was wrong feels more painful than risking more money. The loss grows larger. The emotions grow stronger. Then the market keeps moving against them. And what began as a small, manageable loss becomes a devastating one. Not because the strategy failed, because the ego refused to surrender. Understand this. The market doesn't care how strongly you believe in your opinion. It doesn't care how much analysis you did. It doesn't care how confident you sounded before entering the trade. The market moves according to supply and demand, not personal conviction. Reality will always win the argument. The question is whether you'll accept it early or pay a much higher price later. Professional traders understand something that completely changes the game. They don't expect every trade to work. In fact, they expect many trades to fail. That expectation doesn't make them pessimistic. It makes them prepared. They know that even an excellent strategy can produce several losses in a row. They know probabilities don't guarantee individual outcomes. They know uncertainty is part of the business. So when a stop loss is hit, they don't ask, why did this happen to me? They ask, did I follow my process? If the answer is yes, then the trade was successful, even if it lost money. Think about how powerful that mindset is. Success is no longer determined by profit. Success is determined by discipline. Suddenly losing doesn't destroy confidence, because confidence is no longer attached to outcomes. It is attached to execution. That is emotional freedom. That is professional thinking. The amateur celebrates winning trades, even if they broke every rule to get them. The professional celebrates disciplined decisions, even when those decisions end in losses. Why? Because professionals know one lucky trade can create dangerous habits, but one disciplined loss builds lasting character. Let me ask you something. Have you ever held on to a losing position simply because closing it would force you to admit you were wrong? Of course you have. Almost every trader has. And that single decision has probably cost more money than any bad strategy ever could. Because the biggest losses rarely begin as big losses. They begin as small losses that the ego refuses to accept. Every catastrophic drawdown starts with one dangerous sentence. I'll just give it a little more room. That's not confidence. That's attachment. That's fear wearing the mask of certainty. This is why professional traders become almost emotionally detached from individual trades. They don't marry positions. They don't defend opinions. They don't argue with charts. If the market proves them wrong, they simply exit, preserve capital, and move on. No drama, no revenge, no emotional speeches, just discipline. Because they understand one truth that amateurs spend years resisting. Capital is more valuable than pride. You can always recover from being wrong. Recovering from blowing up your account is much harder. Every dollar you protect today gives you another opportunity tomorrow. Every unnecessary loss steals opportunities from your future self. That's why risk management is not just about percentages. It's about psychology. Every properly managed loss tells your brain, I can survive uncertainty. Every accepted stop loss weakens the ego and strengthens discipline. Every controlled decision builds trust in yourself. Slowly, almost invisibly, you stop fearing losses, because you know losses no longer have the power to destroy you. And when fear disappears, clarity begins to take its place. Here's the paradox that surprises almost everyone. The less you need to be right, the more consistently profitable you become. Because you stop wasting energy defending bad decisions. You stop fighting the market. You stop confusing confidence with stubbornness. Instead, you become flexible, calm, objective. You begin responding to information instead of reacting to emotions. That is the mindset of a professional. They don't ask, how can I avoid losing? They ask, how can I make sure one loss never becomes a disaster? That single question separates those who survive from those who disappear. But even after you've learned to let go of your ego and accept uncertainty, another invisible battle remains. A battle that no chart can reveal, no indicator can solve, and no strategy can eliminate. The battle against your own emotions. Shift 3, from emotional reactions to emotional control. You've learned that professionals don't chase the market. You've learned that they don't trade to prove they're right. But even after mastering patience and accepting uncertainty, there is still one opponent capable of destroying years of progress in a single afternoon. It isn't the market, it isn't volatility, it isn't a bad strategy. It's the storm inside your own mind. Let me ask you something. Have you ever promised yourself before the trading session that today would be different? You told yourself you would follow your plan, you would respect your stop loss, you would remain patient, you would stay disciplined. Then the market opened. One losing trade turned into frustration. Frustration turned into revenge. Revenge turned into overtrading. By the end of the day, you weren't following your strategy anymore. You were following your emotions. And when the market finally closed, you looked back at your account and thought, what was I thinking? The painful truth is, you weren't thinking. You were reacting. Understand this. The biggest enemy in trading is not fear by itself. It is acting while fear is in control. Greed is not the enemy by itself. It is making decisions while greed is driving the wheel. Anger is not the enemy. Frustration is not the enemy. Excitement is not the enemy. Every human being experiences these emotions. Even the greatest professional traders feel them. The difference is simple but life-changing. Amateurs obey their emotions. Professionals observe them. That is the silent shift. Imagine standing beside a river. Leaves float past on the surface. You notice them, but you don't jump into the river to chase every single one. Emotions should be treated the same way. Fear appears. You notice it. Greed appears. You notice it. Frustration appears. You notice it, but you don't let those emotions decide your next move. You simply acknowledge them and return your focus to your process. Most traders never learn this because they believe emotions are signals. They think, I feel confident, so this trade must be good. Or, I feel nervous, so maybe I shouldn't take it. But emotions don't predict the market. They only reveal your current psychological state. Confidence can appear right before a massive loss. Fear can appear right before your biggest winner. If you trade based on feelings, your account becomes a reflection of your mood instead of your strategy. Let me tell you something. The market has an incredible ability to amplify whatever emotion already exists inside you. If you're impatient, the market will tempt you to act too early. If you're greedy, the market will convince you to increase your position size. If you're afraid, the market will scare you into closing winning trades too soon. If you're angry, the market will offer you endless opportunities to make things even worse. It doesn't create those emotions, it exposes them. It shows you who you really are under pressure. That's why trading is one of the greatest mirrors ever created. It doesn't lie. It reflects your discipline, it reflects your habits, it reflects your emotional maturity. Think about revenge trading for a moment. You take a loss, the money is gone, but instead of accepting it, your mind immediately says, get it back. Notice those words. Not find another quality setup, not wait for confirmation, just get it back. At that moment, you're no longer trading the market. You're fighting your own emotions. Every click becomes an attempt to erase pain instead of execute probability. And pain always demands speed. Discipline always demands patience. That's why revenge trading almost never ends with recovery. It usually ends with regret. Now think about winning. Surprisingly, winning can be even more dangerous than losing. One big winner arrives, and suddenly you feel unstoppable. Your confidence quietly transforms into overconfidence. You increase your position size. You ignore your rules because you're in the zone. You believe you've finally figured the market out. Then one unexpected move reminds you of a lesson professionals never forget. The market humbles everyone who believes they're bigger than probability. This is why emotional control isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about refusing to let temporary emotions create permanent consequences. Professionals create systems that protect them from themselves. They define their risks before entering. They know exactly where they'll exit if they're wrong. They know exactly when they'll stop trading for the day. These decisions are made while the mind is calm, because they know emotions become unreliable once money is at risk. The amateur waits until emotions appear before making decisions. The professional makes decisions before emotions have a chance to interfere. That single habit changes everything. Here's something that may surprise you. Emotional control isn't built during easy market conditions. It's built during painful ones. Every losing streak is training. Every missed opportunity is training. Every temptation to break your rules is training. Every time you choose discipline instead of emotion, you're strengthening a mental muscle that most traders never develop. At first, it feels uncomfortable. Then it becomes familiar. Eventually, it becomes your identity. One day you'll notice something remarkable. A losing trade no longer ruins your day. A winning trade no longer inflates your ego. The market rises. You remain calm. The market falls. You remain calm. News breaks unexpectedly. You remain calm. Other traders panic. You remain calm. That calmness is not talent. It is earned through thousands of disciplined decisions. It is built by repeatedly choosing your process over your feelings. Understand this. The goal is not to eliminate emotions. The goal is to stop giving them authority over your actions. Because emotions are temporary visitors. Your decisions create permanent results. The professional trader understands that every emotional reaction has a price, and they refuse to let a temporary feeling write the story of their financial future. They know that mastery is not found in predicting the next candle. It is found in mastering themselves before the next candle even appears. And once your emotions no longer control your decisions, another extraordinary transformation begins. You stop measuring success by today's outcome and start building something far more valuable, the consistency that compounds into a lifetime of professional trading. Shift 4. From short-term wins to long-term consistency. Picture two people standing at the starting line of a marathon. The first runner explodes forward with incredible speed. The crowd cheers. Everyone notices him. He believes the race has already been won because he's leading after the first mile. The second runner begins at a calm, controlled pace. He isn't trying to impress anyone. He isn't racing the people around him. He's racing the distance. Hours later, something remarkable happens. The first runner is exhausted, struggling to continue, while the second runner is still moving with confidence because he understood something the first runner never did. Winning isn't about how fast you start. It's about how consistently you finish. Trading follows the exact same principle. Most amateur traders are obsessed with today's result. They wake up asking one question: how much money can I make today? Professional traders ask a completely different question: how can I execute my process today? That single difference changes every decision they make. Let me tell you something. The market doesn't care if you made $1,000 today. It doesn't care if you doubled your account this month. None of those achievements matter if you can't repeat them. One spectacular day means nothing if it is followed by weeks of emotional losses. One lucky month means nothing if the next month wipes everything away. Consistency is what separates a gambler from a professional. Consistency is what turns temporary success into permanent success. But consistency isn't exciting. It doesn't create viral screenshots. It doesn't produce stories that people brag about online. Nobody rushes to social media saying, I followed my plan perfectly today and made only a small reasonable profit. Yet those quiet days are the foundation of every long-term trading career. Understand this. Professionals fall in love with repetition. Amateurs fall in love with excitement. Excitement feels addictive because your brain craves stimulation. Big wins create emotional highs. Fast profits release excitement. Huge moves make you feel unstoppable. But emotional highs come with emotional crashes. The trader who constantly chases excitement eventually begins taking unnecessary risks just to recreate that feeling. Slowly, trading stops becoming a business. It becomes entertainment. And entertainment is one of the most expensive habits a trader can develop. Think about how many times you've experienced this. You have a fantastic trading day. Everything works. Confidence rises. The next morning you wake up believing today should be even bigger. You increase your position size. You force trades that aren't there. You ignore your rules because yesterday convinced you that you're invincible. By the end of the session, you've given back most of what you earned. Why? Because you weren't protecting consistency. You were chasing another emotional high. Professionals understand something that amateurs rarely appreciate. Every single trading day is independent. Yesterday's profits don't guarantee today's success. Yesterday's losses don't guarantee today's failure. Every morning is a new test of discipline. Every chart deserves fresh analysis. Every trade deserves the same respect regardless of what happened the day before. That's why professional traders don't carry emotional baggage from one session into the next. They reset, they refocus, they execute day after day, week after week, month after month. Let me ask you something. If someone looked at your trading over the last 100 trades instead of your last 3 trades, what story would they see? Would they see discipline? Would they see patience? Would they see consistency? Or would they see emotional highs followed by emotional lows? Because professionals think in hundreds of trades, not individual outcomes. They know one trade proves nothing. 10 trades prove very little. But hundreds of disciplined decisions begin revealing the true edge. That's why they never celebrate one winning trade too much, and they never panic after one losing trade. They're focused on the bigger picture. They trust the process because they understand probability only reveals itself over time. This is where patience returns in an even deeper form. Earlier, you learned to wait for quality opportunities. Now you must learn to wait for meaningful results. Too many traders expect life-changing income after only a few weeks of disciplined trading. When reality doesn't match their expectations, frustration grows. They begin changing strategies. They begin chasing different markets. They begin searching for another shortcut. But the shortcut never exists, because consistency cannot be rushed. It must be earned. Think about building physical strength. You don't become stronger after one workout. You become stronger after showing up repeatedly, even when progress feels invisible. Trading discipline works exactly the same way. Every day you follow your plan, you're building a stronger decision-making process. Every rule you respect strengthens your professional identity. Every emotional impulse you resist becomes another brick in the foundation of long-term success. Most of this growth cannot be seen immediately. That's why so many people quit. They mistake invisible progress for no progress. Professionals know better. They understand that extraordinary results are built through ordinary actions repeated consistently over long periods of time. Here's something that changes everything. Professional traders stop measuring success by income alone. They begin measuring consistency itself. Did I follow my rules? Did I manage my risk? Did I avoid emotional decisions? Did I respect my process? If the answer is yes, they consider the day successful regardless of the financial outcome. Ironically, once money stops becoming the daily scoreboard, profits often become far more consistent. Why? Because emotional pressure disappears. Clear thinking returns. Discipline becomes natural instead of forced. The focus shifts from immediate gratification to sustainable execution. And sustainable execution is what creates lasting wealth. Remember this, anybody can have a lucky week. Anybody can experience a massive winning streak. But very few people can remain disciplined through winning streaks, losing streaks, boring markets, exciting markets, uncertainty, confidence, fear, and success. That ability is what separates professionals from everyone else. Because the goal is no longer to win today. The goal is to become the kind of trader who can still be winning 10 years from now. And once you stop chasing temporary victories and begin building permanent consistency, one final transformation quietly takes place. You stop seeing trading as a way to make money, and you begin seeing yourself as someone who thinks, behaves, and lives like a true professional. Shift 5. From trading for money to becoming a professional, close your eyes for a moment and imagine two versions of yourself walking into the market tomorrow morning. The first version is desperate. He opens the charts already, thinking about bills, profits, luxury cars, financial freedom, and how much money he hopes to make before the day ends. Every candle becomes a chance to solve his problems. Every trade carries the emotional weight of his future. The second version walks into the exact same market with a completely different mindset. He isn't thinking about today's paycheck. He isn't thinking about proving anything to anyone. He's thinking about executing his plan with precision. He's thinking about protecting capital. He's thinking about behaving like a professional. Both traders see the same charts. Both have access to the same information, but one is controlled by money while the other is controlled by discipline. That is the final mental shift, and it is the one that changes everything. Let me tell you something that most people never realize. The moment money becomes your primary focus, it quietly begins controlling your emotions. Think about what happens when every trade feels connected to your financial future. Suddenly, a small loss feels enormous. A winning trade feels like validation. A losing streak feels like your dreams are slipping away. You begin forcing opportunities because you need the money. You increase your position size because you're trying to speed up the process. You hesitate to close losing trades because accepting the loss feels too painful. Without realizing it, money stops being the result of good trading. It becomes the reason for every emotional mistake. Professionals understand the truth that amateurs spend years resisting. Money is a byproduct. It is not the mission. The mission is professionalism. The mission is flawless execution repeated over and over again. Money follows those behaviors naturally. It doesn't lead them. Imagine a world-class surgeon preparing for a complex operation. Do you think he walks into the operating room thinking about how much he'll be paid in the next hour? Of course not. His attention is completely focused on the procedure. Every movement is intentional. Every decision follows years of preparation and discipline. Because he understands something powerful. If he performs at the highest level, the financial rewards will eventually take care of themselves. Trading demands the same mentality. The market rewards professionals, not dreamers. It rewards preparation, not desperation. It rewards consistency, not emotional excitement. Understand this. Professionals build routines that don't depend on motivation. They wake up at the same time, they prepare the same way, they review the same checklist, they analyze without rushing. They respect their rules whether they're winning or losing. Why? Because professionals don't rely on feelings, they rely on standards. Standards eliminate emotional decision-making. Standards create stability. Standards create confidence. The amateur asks, "How much can I make today?" The professional asks, "Did I meet my standards today?" That single question transforms trading from gambling into a business. Let me ask you something. If nobody could see your trading results for the next year, would you still follow your process with the same discipline? That's an uncomfortable question because many traders secretly trade for recognition. They want to impress friends. They want to post winning screenshots. They want people to believe they've mastered the market. But professionals have nothing to prove. Their identity is not built on public approval. Their confidence comes from private discipline. They know who they are long before anyone else notices their success. That's why they don't chase attention. They chase excellence. Excellence becomes a habit. Habits become identity. Identity creates results. This is where the biggest transformation happens. You stop calling yourself someone who is trying to become profitable. You begin acting like someone who already belongs among professionals. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You don't need a massive account balance to think professionally. Professionalism is a mindset before it is a financial outcome. Every disciplined decision strengthens that identity. Every emotional decision weakens it. Every time you follow your rules, you're casting another vote for the person you're becoming. Every time you ignore your process, you're reinforcing the habits of the trader you're trying to leave behind. This is why the most successful traders rarely look emotional from the outside. They're not emotionless. They're simply committed to an identity that's bigger than temporary feelings. They don't allow one winning day to define them. They don't allow one losing week to break them. Their confidence isn't built on profits, it's built on preparation. It's built on discipline. It's built on knowing that no matter what the market does today, they'll still show up tomorrow with the same professional standards. Think back to where this journey began. You learned to stop chasing the market and patiently wait for high-quality opportunities. Then you learned to let go of the desperate need to always be right. After that, you discovered that emotional control matters more than emotional reactions. Then you realized that long-term consistency will always outperform short-term excitement. Each lesson was preparing you for this final shift, because none of those habits truly last until they become part of your identity. Identity is where everything changes. Identity is where discipline becomes automatic. Identity is where patience no longer feels difficult. Identity is where risk management becomes natural. Identity is where consistency stops being something you force and starts becoming who you are. Here's the truth that separates legends from everyone else. Professional traders are not extraordinary because they discovered a secret strategy. They are extraordinary because they became different people. They think differently. They respond differently. They manage pressure differently. They respect uncertainty instead of fearing it. They protect capital instead of chasing excitement. They trust the process instead of demanding instant rewards. The market didn't transform them overnight. Thousands of disciplined decisions did. Thousands of moments when they chose patience over impulse, process over emotion, excellence over ego. And now the final question isn't whether you know these shifts. The final question is whether you're willing to live them. Because the market will continue doing what it has always done. It will tempt you, it will test you, it will expose every weakness you refuse to confront. But if you embrace these silent mental shifts, something extraordinary begins to happen. You stop trying to conquer the market. You begin conquering yourself. And the day you master yourself is the day the market finally stops being your greatest enemy and starts becoming the place where your discipline is rewarded. Conclusion: the greatest transformation in trading never happens on your charts. It happens inside your mind. The market will always test your patience. It will always challenge your confidence. It will always tempt your emotions. But now you understand that every challenge is also an opportunity to become stronger. Every time you wait instead of chase, you grow. Every time you accept a loss instead of protecting your ego, you grow. Every time you choose discipline over emotion, you grow. Every time you focus on consistency instead of quick profits, you grow. And every time you act like a professional before the results arrive, you become one. Remember this, profitable trading is not built on perfect predictions. It is built on perfect habits repeated over time. The market does not reward the smartest trader. It rewards the most disciplined. 1. So stop searching for the next secret indicator. Stop believing the next strategy will change your life. The real edge has been inside you all along. Your patience is your edge. Your discipline is your edge. Your emotional control is your edge. Your consistency is your edge. If this message changed the way you think about trading, don't let it end here. Apply these shifts every single day until they become part of who you are. Because the trader you become will always be more valuable than any trade you ever take. And that is the mindset that separates amateurs from true professionals forever.